Hello, everyone. Welcome. I have a story for you. I have a lot of stories to tell. The funny thing is, they're all true. And some of them a little unbelievable, but I promise you, I have witnesses along the way. Okay, anyway, so one of the things I want to say is some people are like undecided about what they want to do with their lives. And I always say, all you need to do is ask the other side. So I'm going to share something, a dream. A lot of our dreams, you guys, they're visitations. Yes, visitations with someone who has passed away. And, it's so involved. There's so much about that, but let's do one thing at a time. So first I'm going to address medical stuff. You guys, I have so many stories about that, but not the point of tonight. But you'll understand why I'm addressing this at the end. Okay, so I should say that highly intuitive people, first of all, we're always dehydrated, okay? Always dehydrated. And I feel that's because we're using that electricity in our body that sucks out the water. So you will find that you're always dehydrated, so you definitely want to stay well hydrated. But I've had 3 doctors in my whole life that have just been wonderful. My first is Dr. Barnett. He was my OB-GYN. I was told I could never have children because I had lost a baby in utero. And I was told I'd never have kids. And Dr. Bob said, you have faith and it'll happen. Well, I have 4 children, all the natural way, no IVF. I was very blessed. But anyway, so he was, and then I'm not going to say, and he has passed away, God bless him. But Dr. Mark, who is still with us, but he's phenomenal. He is so phenomenal. He's a GI physician and somebody that, wonderful, highly recommend. And, I could share the story with him, which I will do another time, or that would lead me to him another time. And then Dr. O. Dr. O, he was wonderful because when you're in your mid to late 30s, that psychic door, you can't shut it anymore. It's like you start to hear things, feel things, see things, but you want to be normal and you want to fit in. So it's like a closet door and you're taking all this stuff and shoving it in there and standing up against the door, hoping it doesn't open, but it does. And in my case, I started to get really bad headaches. So this wonderful physician had said to me, you have strong psychic ability. And he said, so now it's your choice. You can either let it control you or you can control it. And from that day on, he was like, okay, I'm accepting it, because I was always told I was weird, there's something wrong with me. And again, like I always reiterate, there's a difference between being psychic and being psychotic. Because you'll find too, one of my biggest lessons that I like to teach is kindness. Like my mom, who passed when I was little, taught me, and she passed when I was almost 8, but she had taught me that there is humor in everything, and there's kindness in everyone. Sometimes you have to look a little deeper, a little harder, but you'll always find it. And she's right. I have found that in my life to be very true. Anyway, so yes, I was working in the mortgage business, which is kind of coming off of the Dr. O. It got to the point where I'm sitting out in the open area, where all the different desks are the cubicles. And I could hear conversations within each office. It was like somebody was changing a radio station in my head. So I was like, oh my gosh. And this is when my psychic ability started to really, really get strong. Now, I've always been able to see and communicate with people that have passed. And I always thought that that was normal until I found out, going, to Catholic school and everything, that was not the case. So, you kind of keep it to yourself. And, but when you have a gift, like if you have a great singing voice, you're not going to use it. Yet it's a wonderful gift to have, to be intuitive. And for those that say, oh, I don't believe in that stuff, it's common sense. You guys, it's also known as common sense. So don't be too quick to say you don't believe in that stuff. Okay, so here we go. Anyway, so I didn't know that I knew back then that I was not happy. I mean, like materially, financially, I was fine and my kids were good, but I just was not happy.
It's time for bed.
Do you ever have that situation? And I don't know why, every night, this Alexa thing is like, it's time for bed at 9 o'clock. I don't know how to turn it off. I didn't even turn it on. Anyway, sorry about that. But anyway, so, but I wasn't happy. And it's like this feeling inside of me that is like, I knew God wanted me to do something, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know back then even I wrote a book, which, because it was, please God, just take me home. And no, it wasn't like a bad book, but it was more of, what do you do when you know you're young and you know that there's something you're supposed to be doing and you know that God wants you to do it, but you don't know what it is. So one evening I go to sleep and I am in my dream. I am driving with my two brothers in my one brother's old truck, right? And little brother's driving, big brother's next to me, and I'm in the middle while they are arguing. They're going back and forth. So I'm looking, going, come on, guys, stop. And then I look straight ahead and I see Mac, a red truck with the letters Mac. Next thing you know, I'm in a park. Yeah, I'm in a park. I was like, oh, it's really pretty over here. And then I see my mom. And I'm like, a zillion questions. Mom, what are you doing? Where have you been? I mean, come on, why did you leave us? Well, she starts gliding over to me because she was across at the park. So she's gliding. And of course, me and my wacky sense of humor, I'm like, oh my gosh, look how you're gliding. It almost looks like you're skating, but I don't see any skates. Oh, wow, how do you do that? Well, then she comes to me and she extends her left hand for me to take her hand. But she's wearing Playtex gloves, the rubber gloves, and she used to wear them, when I was little. But then of course it's because, she's on the other side. They don't have like the physical body like we have. But I guess it would have been another thing. I'm like, oh my goodness, where are your arms? I guess to avoid all that, she just put on a glove. The next thing I know, we're at an accident scene. And I see 3 ambulances and like all these medical people like running around. And I looked at her, she was to my right. And I looked at her, I was like, oh my gosh, the boys, are they okay? Are they gonna be okay? And she just nodded yes. And I see like they're working actively on my brothers. I see me. I look down and I see myself. I'm laying right there in front of me. And I'm all bloody. But nobody's working on me. I looked at her, I go, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. What is it with medical care in me? Doctors, I don't know, they just kind of leave me in the lurch. I don't get it. And, I'm just kind of laughing, but then I stopped and I'm looking. I got to tell you too, the whole time, like I'm going through this dream, I was thinking the same way that I think when I'm in my waking state. So I said to her, I looked and I noticed nobody's touching me. And I see him loading my brothers in, thank God, But I looked at her, I go, Mom, am I dead? She looked at me and she went, and then I woke up. Well, everybody tells you if you die in your sleep, that's it, you die. Not true. So for the longest time, I didn't know what that dream meant. Now, my favorite movie is Ghost. And I do find that that is true. Oh, you guys, one of the things they do to you is they'll stand right next to you and they will hum a song or sing a song to you, to the point where, like, let's say a Christmas carol in like May. You might be hearing Jingle Bells, but then all of a sudden, it's not that you're going to hear it, but you're going to start singing it. Well, they get all happy because the other side knows, he or she can hear me. Yay. So, but anyway, so I was uncertain, like, I don't know what it meant. So I'm driving on Old Hartford Road one day, and it was the sun. Oh, the sunset was gorgeous. Everything was just so pretty. And next thing you know, there's my granddad in my passenger seat. He's the one that used to read to me when I was little, and I'm always very close. I've always been very close to him, But he started explaining something to me, which I'm actually going to write a book on. And he's talking about when you pass. He said, you saw that you felt all the emotions as you did when you were alive. And I said, yes, yeah. And he said, well, that's what happens when people die and they're not expecting it, or if they have like unsettled business. He goes, it's like your favorite movie. It's like Ghost. And, if they hear somebody who can relate to them and hear them, that's where they're going to gather. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. Well, for those of you that know me, I always ask for proof. And it's not being disrespectful. And you'll see what I mean. So I was like, oh, okay. All right. So he said, my proof to you will happen this evening. So I was like, okay. I get home and I had a phone call that was important. It was a young lady who said to me, is there any way you can talk to me now? I feel like I'm losing my mind. And I said, of course. Okay, what's going on? And then I knew before she even said anything, because I felt a male who really did not want her to be on the phone with me, right? So I said, but you go ahead. I mean, because you'll find, like, in my work, my job is to get you to feel better. It does nobody any good. It doesn't do you any good if I'm going to sit there and go, let me tell you about you. You already know about you, but sometimes you don't. And the way to do that, the other side will direct me with questions to ask you. And those questions, they dig deep. So, because the whole thing of my sessions, it's not to be like Miss Cleo, God rest her soul, nothing against Miss Cleo, but I don't work like that. My job is to help people to dig inside, to find your path, help with love, just help you with your life, Anyway, so she was engaged to a firefighter who was killed at 9/11. And she said to me, so I told her too then what I'm seeing, that he's there. And she goes, Janie, I know. I literally feel him. She's like, when I go to work, and I said, wait, and that's when I go, wait, let me finish that for you. I said, so when you go to work, you feel free and like you are ready to move forward. But when you come home, you're right back to when he was with you. She said, yes. And she starts crying and she goes, I really want to move forward, but I don't want to disrespect him. So they hear the conversations. If you notice, I said he wasn't too happy that she was on the phone with me, but he knew. Because when I talk to you, I don't come by myself. I'm with a band. Like I said, God's my boss. Jesus is my manager. Archangel Michael is the head of security. And we have a lot of angels. You have a lot of angels. And you guys, when I mention your divine family, it's God, it's Jesus, it's angels, saints, and your deceased loved ones that have passed, both human and animals. That's your divine family. I just close it down because, you know, there's so many. So I just say divine family. But anyway, so while she and I are talking and we're healing, she's also being healed, and so is he. And he knows that he's got to go home. Because really, for the soul to evolve, you know, it's like, it's a circle. It's constantly moving. So he did. And God bless her, you know, she did end up getting married a couple years later and lived her life happy. And he did too. He crossed over. So your dreams, listen to your dreams. They always mean something, especially the ones like that are, they're real. I mean, they're actual visitations. That's why it like bothers me sometimes when people are like, oh, it's just my imagination. No, it's not. So let me give you one more thing before we close this down. So one of the cool things, because this is when I started learning too about the astral traveling. It was about that time period. You guys, this was all like 28 years ago, maybe 30, long time. But anyway, if you've ever gone to sleep at night, right? You go to sleep, you're nice and comfy and you're tired, but you wake up and you can't move. You can't move anything. And then you go to speak. You can't speak. You are paralyzed. That is called sleep paralysis. If you notice, it only lasts for a second. But what happens is you're out visiting. And when we go visiting, we visit people that are here. We visit people that have passed. But we're out visiting. That's why when you wake up in the morning, you're so darn tired because you weren't sleeping. Your soul was out like hanging out all night, visiting everybody, like, you know. But there's nothing to be afraid of, because what happens is your soul comes back. And some people actually like feel it like slam in, or, you know, it just, I didn't feel slam. There have been times like I would feel like I was on a roller coaster ride when my soul was actually coming back. And then, yeah. But for those of you that feel pressures and stuff, a lot of people, they're terrified and they think like aliens, alien abduction. And, you know, I don't know too much about that, and I don't want to put anyone, I don't want to mess up anybody else's ideas. All I'm saying is I was taught that that's not the case. It's that you're astral traveling. Not a big deal. If it was a big deal, come on. Your whole body, you were paralyzed. And then you go to call your mate or somebody in the house. And you can't move. You can't speak. And then all of a sudden, bang, you're normal. And what happens? You go back to sleep. If it was that bad, if there was something wrong, trust me, you're not going to go back to sleep. But you do. You go back to sleep. And you get up a couple hours later, you go in and make your coffee. So you're good. I hope you enjoyed my story. All of my stories are true, but they definitely make for stories, good stories. And please hit the subscribe and the like button. And also leave, if you have any questions that you want answered, leave it in the comments section, and I'll be more than happy to address your questions. But also what I'm going to do, probably not yet, but I'm going to start like once a week taking the subscribers and pulling a name, and just, you know, you'll get a card, like not like one of the angel cards, like what you can expect for the week or what your angel has to say to you. It could just be a simple card that's saying, hey, you know, it's your angel. Get some rest this week so you don't get sick because you're starting to feel like a little under the weather. That kind of stuff. They watch over you. They know what you're doing. You're not alone. Don't ever feel alone. You know, And please, please be kind. Kindness is key. On that note, God bless you. I love you guys.